Hello everyone, it's Tammy2009 and welcome to another one of my review videos. Now, normally this would have been the Misty Island Rescue review, as some of you may know, but instead of the Misty Island Rescue review, I'm actually going to be reviewing one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's to celebrate the 16th anniversary. Now, the Misty Island Rescue review is still coming soon. I have not forgotten about Misty Island Rescue. But it's just that because of the 16th anniversary that has happened today, I actually wanted to make the review on that thing that I'm going to talk about here to celebrate the 16th anniversary. It's just something I want to do. But the Misty Island Rescue review is coming soon. But until then, we're going to be taking a look at my favorite movie of all time. Cars. Now, this has to be my favorite Pixar movie of all time. Now, if you don't know, I do actually like Pixar. It's a nice franchise to make movies, and everyone loves Pixar. They have made a lot of great Pixar films, but Cars is my favorite Pixar franchise. And I really love Cars to death, which is why it's the 16th anniversary today. So, I did a Hero of the Rails review to celebrate its anniversary, because Hero of the Rails is one of my favorite movies of all time, even though Sharon Miller is a terrible writer. And she has written Misty Island Rescue, which I hate. But anyways, back to Cars. So, I was a huge fan of Cars as a kid. I remember watching the second and the third movie in the theaters. I have not watched this one in the theaters. I have, seen it. But I would say Cars is a pretty amazing movie. It does a lot right that I don't think some Pixar films do right. I do like the older Pixar films. I like classic Pixar, if you will call it. Modern Pixar is okay, but it's been a while since they've done sequels of movies. My favorite thing about Pixar is sequels. Sequels they make where they add new characters, a new plot, a new story, and a new antagonist. Toy Story 2 was the first Pixar movie I've ever watched when I was very young, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable, and I thought the characters are relatable and really likable. And you do really get something out of those characters. You can take away something from the Pixar movies. The heartwarming morals, the very nice and lovable anthropomorphic characters. People can like Cars because it's about anthropomorphic cars, but it has a strong, heartwarming feel to it. Pixar gives you a nice, warm spot in your heart. And that's why I love Pixar. I think Pixar is one of the best franchises of all time, as I said. And Pixar has done a number of older movies like WALL-E, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, Toy Story, The Incredibles, and A Bug's Life, which was one of my favorites as a kid. I love those Pixar movies, but I don't think any Pixar movie will be better than Cars, except for a couple. I mean, there are some okay Pixar films, in my opinion. They're not my favorite, but they're still good. And I kind of lost interest in Pixar after they made Toy Story 4. Whenever there's a new Pixar movie that's not a sequel, I just have never seen it. Luca Turning Red, you get the picture. I actually prefer Pixar when they do sequels of one-off films. I wish they did a sequel to WALL-E, Inside Out, Ratatouille, but I don't know if that'll happen. But I'm very happy that they made 2 sequels of this Cars movie. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. So join me as I talk about Cars, Cars 2, and Cars 3. So let's take a trip down memory lane and talk about the first Cars movie. So what do I have to say about Cars 1? Well, it's my least favorite out of the trilogy. Sometimes the first Pixar movies aren't popular, if you would say it. This doesn't have a lot of impact as the other 2 movies do. I do like the story and the whole plot of the movie. The story's about this red race car named Lightning McQueen. He's a cool guy, voiced by Owen Wilson. Great actor. Lightning McQueen has a bit of a character development as the Cars trilogy goes on. Like in this Cars franchise, he learns that there's a lot more to racing than just winning, and then he like gets lost on his way to a race in Los Angeles. Excuse me. The race takes place in Los Angeles after a three-way tie has been occurred, like with the King, Chick Hicks, and especially this dude. Like those are the three like leading cars in the racing world. So in the racing world, they have a race at the beginning, and then Lightning McQueen ends up in a three-way tie with Chick Hicks and the King. Chick Hicks is the antagonist, and the King is always coming in first place. And on his way, he gets lost in a little town called Radiator Springs. There he meets all the iconic characters like Mater and Doc Hudson and his love interest Sally. And I thought the plot is a pretty good plot, but there are some things that do hinder it from the first two sequels, I mean. Like these two right here. Like there are a couple things that do push it back to being the best one out of them. Now, what I like about the first Cars movie is Lightning McQueen, because he learns not to be arrogant and rude. Like, when he goes to Radiator Springs, in the beginning of the movie, he's very cocky and arrogant, and kind of a show-off. But after he gets lost in Radiator Springs, he actually, like, starts to hang out with the cars, fixing the road, and tractor tipping with Mater, and going on a drive with Sally. And then he learns to be a nice, humble character. And he is quite kind and humble throughout the trilogy. And Doc Hudson is like Lightning McQueen's mentor. He's like the old guy who refuses to help at first but warms up later. Like, I think Doc Hudson has a good story to him. Like, he used to be a race car in the olden days, but after he crashed, people lost interest in him. And he still has it in him, but the people of Radiator Springs just never got to see him still racing, except for Lightning McQueen here. So after McQueen is found, they take him to Los Angeles, and then he races with Chick and the King, and all the characters from Radiator Springs are there, including his best friend Mater. Like, I do like the fact that Mater and McQueen are best friends. Like, every main character needs to have a sidekick. Mater's just used for comic relief purposes, and I think Mater works fantastic as a character. He might be my favorite Radiator Springs car because he's a tow truck, which is reliable. Like, there are no humans in cars in the Cars world, so they do have tow trucks to help as well as pitties like Guido here. Anyways, back to the plot. So, with all that out of the way, I think what makes it my least favorite is sometimes Radiator Springs can be a bit boring unless you like I think the whole Radiator Springs scene is kind of boring in my opinion, but I do like how it plays out. Like, he gets sent to court, he has to fix the road, he races with Doc, he then fixes the road during the halfway there, he tractor tips with Mater, he goes on the drive with Sally, he then gets a new upgrade and a new paint job, but then he's found. Like, I do like how the plot progresses, but it feels a bit bland if you just take out all of that and just have McQueen in Radiator Springs. Like, I just think that's kind of odd. Like, it is boring in my opinion, but if you guys like the Radiator Springs subplot, then that's fine. I just like the racing part the most. Anyway, speaking of racing, what I actually hate about this Cars movie is that in the final race, Lightning McQueen lost to Chick Hicks. Chick Hicks actually won just because he made the King crash, and that made Lightning McQueen lose the race just so he can help the King. Like, honestly, if I was Lightning McQueen, I would just, like, finish the race first and then save the King after. Like, I would just, like, go across the finish line and win and not stop to let a villain win. Honestly, I hate when a villain actually wins a scene. Like, I know not all villains win, but Chick Hicks did, unfortunately, because Lightning McQueen was so stupid. Like, he felt so stupid, like, stopping just to let Chick Hicks win, and he could help the King. If I was McQueen, I would just, like, finish the race and then help the King after I win. Like, is it really that hard? But all that aside, I do like the ending where Mater rides in the Dynaco helicopter and Lightning McQueen gets a Radiator Springs treatment paint job. so he can feel like he's at home. It's a shame that we don't see that paint job anymore, and he's reverted back to this one in the Cars 2 movie. Oh boy. Yeah, the only thing I hate is that Lightning McQueen lost to Chick Hicks. I am glad Chick Hicks does get his just desserts at the end, even though he won the race and won the Piston Cup fair and square. Honestly, I think Lightning McQueen should have known better than to just stop dead in his tracks just so Chick Hicks can take the win, just so Lightning McQueen can help the king. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. If I was Lightning McQueen, I would just finish the race no matter what it takes. I would just cross the finish line, win the Piston Cup, and then have my time to help the king out. Like, I don't care if the king is, like, damaged. Like, he can be fixed, you know? That still makes me angry to this day. Anyways, all that aside, Cars 1 is a pretty good Pixar movie. It's like a perfect way to kick off Cars, if you would call it, but it's probably not the best. It's probably the weakest out of the trilogy, in my opinion. But if you love Cars 1, then that's cool. I don't have a problem with you liking Cars 1. Like, I know some people might hate the other two movies, but excuse me, I like those sequels. So I think that's all I have to say about Cars. We have ran out of time, so what do you think of my review of Cars so far? Stay tuned for part 2 when I show you Cars 2 and Cars 3. See you then.